Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inc. here. Today we have another treat, right? As we always try and get new content out there for you guys. Impressions, reviews, other people's thoughts and everything. So today, on a road trip, I made my wife drive the truck. Usually she drives it very limited, maybe once while in the city. And she's gave her impression before, but now she's had an opportunity to really feel the safety systems, really drive down the highway, really put the throttle into it, and everything like that. So quite interesting though. As you guys know, if you watched the most recent video, had battery draw again and a dead battery. This time it was down to like 33%. We did recharge it, but when she went to drive, her profile was saved within the Sync 4. None of the memory features were remembered. So that's kind of a bummer. So we set that up again real quick. But without further ado, here's my wife with her impressions. Alright, so as we look in here, guys, you can see right there the LCD gauges are on their basic feature setting, so they don't have numbers below them. We had that set up originally for her in her memory feature, but because that was out, you know, we're going to reset that up and then hit the memory again. But, alright, here's my lady. So let's talk about the frustration. Obviously, you get in here, you have that memory feature. It sucks the battery went down, but you know, what can you adjust being a shorter person in this truck?
Well, I can raise the seat up so I can see over the hood. So that part was nice. The Chevy could raise the seat up, but I could still not see over the hood. But I could adjust the steering wheel so that it's not right onto my leg since I ride up so high. And then the pedals adjusted, and of course my lumbar, which I need the lumbar.
Right. Now,
I have none.
This is your first time driving it, so like a long distance, you're able to adjust the mirrors. What do you think about visibility of mirrors? These are way bigger than your cars, but you know,
yeah,
you feel like your visibility out of this truck's pretty good?
Absolutely great. The bottom little mirror guy, I can see, make sure I'm in the lines because it's way bigger than my car, so I kind of want to make sure I'm driving okay. And so like the bottom ones, I check to make sure I'm in the lines. The top ones, I can see everybody behind me. The back mirror, I have no problem seeing out any of these mirrors. So yeah, they're great. So
good visibility out the side windows. How about the hood? I know it's a big truck, but compared to the Chevy, what you're thinking out after these 200 miles?
I don't even notice it. The good thing is I don't have to like force myself to see over the hood. It's actually really drops down at a good angle, so I can. It gives me a good judge of like where I'm at in the lines. On the Chevy, I couldn't tell. The Chevy's more straight out, so it was really hard for me to judge any of that.
Right. Now, what do you think about overall comfort after all these miles?
Well, I still stand by it. The Ford's the most comfortable. Out over the Ram, over the Chevy, and we've had several Fords. It's definitely the most comfortable, and we've been driving by a lot of feedlots. So the recirculating air is also good comfort. I don't like to smell cow poo.
Right.
So.
And what she's meaning by that is Ford does have a filtration system. So if you turn on your recirc, it will eventually kind of pull that smell out. And interesting about the Super Duty over a lot of the other cars I've been driving, and even my F-150, is that recirc will turn off after a certain amount of time on my wife's car, my Subaru, and this stays on until you turn it off or adjust this settings in a different sense. So that's kind of nice. It does run through that. Almost all cars now have a in-cabin air filter, but this one actually has, being the Lariat, it actually has like an extra filtration, if you will, to get that smell and keep it out. So that's kind of nice. You've been driving, like I said, 200 miles. What do you think of the heads-up display?
It's not obnoxious. I am one that like I can't stand if somebody puts their hat on the dashboard or they leave a piece of paper on the dashboard and it's glaring off the windshield. I can't stand that. That's too much for my brain. But this heads-up display is the least obnoxious I've ever driven, and we've driven a lot of cars. The Kia Stinger, that one was a little obnoxious. I mean, just a lot of them. But this one, it tells me my speed limit, so I know down here there's a lot of state troopers, so I got to make sure I've got the cruise control on. It tells me the temperature, the time outside, and it even has like the little blue lines. So if I had the lane centering thing on, it tells me that I'm like kind of in the lane. I don't have it on because to me it's a little aggressive and it pulls me more towards the center, which in a big truck I like to be on the right side, closer to that side. So
okay. So we've talked about this before. Again, guys, most of the Ford trucks, if you don't have the Copilot 360 2.0, you still have the lane warning departure. What she's talking about is, and I've said this before, the Copilot 360, this is a big truck and it's very sensitive, and it has two settings. It has increased and standard, I guess, if you will, when it comes to the lane centering itself. So the 2.0 system has that. It's very aggressive, and if you're not ready for it, it can be kind of pulling, and sometimes you feel like you're fighting it. And then, interesting enough, even if you use it and get used to it, then it wants you to wiggle the steering wheel every so often. Otherwise, it starts dinging at you, and then it starts saying, throwing an alarm. So that part of the safety system is a little aggressive. Now, keep in mind the 360 2.0 also has speed adaptive cruise control. I don't have it turned on in this one because if you pass a speed sign, it will then adapt to that speed. So if it drops to a 55 in construction, it will do that. A lot of cars have that, and that's a nice feature. It's not turned on in my profile, and obviously with the battery draw, her profile is pretty much been blanked, but we'll get that reset back up. So now we've talked about that, let's talk about overall usability of the truck, comfort, overall, as we go through it. What do you think about power of the 7.3 Godzilla?
Well, I drive a little 4-cylinder car, so this trumps that power beyond. I still loved the power of your red F-150. I don't remember what it was, but it was awesome. And even the gray F-150, that one was pretty good. This one has power, but it's more, I guess, I don't know, you can feel it more like a torque, like it's carrying a lot, so it's more of like a muscle power versus a zoom power. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you think the power is more than adequate. What do you think about ride? This is a big truck, it's tall, it's hard to get into. What do you think about ride over, say, the other trucks we've had?
Well, once I get the ladder out to get into the truck, it's pretty good. It rides like a truck. The F-150s always rode smoother. You could barely even tell it was a truck, especially when we went on that 9-hour drive. That you couldn't even tell, and I probably drove those F-150s way more than you did, just because I really enjoyed it. This one, while it's not the F-150, you can feel it's a big truck.
So ride's not that bad, but not as good as the F-150s, obviously.
Yeah.
But because this truck kind of mirrors the F-150s, usability of controls, you are in this truck not that much as the driver. You're more sitting in the navigator seat here, and you said you like the seats over here and you like that. But when you hop in here, being a driver, there's a lot to get to know, learn, use. What do you think about usability, like setting up the cruise, turning up and down the radio, and everything like that?
I actually really like it. Again, I'm used to the F-150s. Those are really nice, but that's the thing about Ford is they keep it simple. And I actually really like that. They keep it with the buttons. I can reach the volume. Some of these buttons up here, I have no idea what they do, but I got the cruise control, my volume, and changing the station, and I'm good. And that's the best part. When I was moving the steering wheel and the brake pedals, those, you had to kind of tell me where those were at, but they're not in a place that I would be fumbling forever to find. The system is really easy to use because we don't get a lot of radio stations out here, so scanning through, it's just a simple button push, which I like, so you're not going into 4 different menus just to try and get the radio to work. But it's pretty easy. I really like that, actually.
Okay. And what she's talking about is the Sync 4. I still believe that the Sync 4 is one of the best interfaces of all the trucks currently available. Super easy for people that want simplicity, but complex enough with enough features inside of it that it doesn't strip it down by being that simple. But I guess at the end of the day, here's the golden question. We had a 24 Ram on the channel, we had a 24 Chevy on the channel, and now we have the Loki here that's 24 Super Duty. Which truck do you pick out of those 3 that meets all your needs or you like the best?
Ford all the way. Sorry about the Ram. And we used to have a Ram over a decade ago, and I loved that Ram. Absolutely loved it. But since we've had the 24 Ram, I didn't really enjoy it as much as the Ford and the Chevy. Well, you've heard my Chevy. I don't really like the Chevy, sorry, but it's the Ford all the way.
All right. Well, I'm not surprised by what she thinks about the Ford guys. Again, you know, we've had so many Ram trucks that we've had opportunities to see them, and the 24 just really wasn't much more than the last one that we had, which is a 15. I actually like that truck better. Oh, sorry, that was a 16 by Dooley. So, and of course, you know that she doesn't like the Chevy, so it's going to be a hard swing to get her in back in one. Maybe the newer interiors will change, but after being in the other 25 the other day, they didn't change enough that I think it's going to give her that love for it, but who knows, we'll see. As always, guys, if you don't mind smashing the subscribe button before you leave, hit the thumbs up at the end of the video and the notification bell so you know I've posted new content, and we'll catch you on the next one.